you talk about the Black Lives Matter movement for a moment, which appeared to come out of the blue. Interestingly, during COVID, when a lot of people locked down and had a lot of time possibly on Twitter or on the internet and less time talking to real people. But it did seem to us from where we sit here in Australia that this thing blew up into something that became enormously powerful and ended up having a lot of consequences for people who, saw something wrong with it and wouldn't go along with it. What was your take on it at the time?
Well, it depends. I recall sort of the real nascent elements of what we saw in 2020, which really manifested in this explosion of violence in the summer of 2020, but as well as just a general moral reckoning in just about every institution with histories of racism, real or imagined. But you saw the bubblings up of something along these lines as early as 2014 in Ferguson, Missouri, after the killing of a young man by police, with the idea that he was unarmed and was surrendering to police at the time. It didn't happen to be true, but the narrative caught on, and it fomented this shift. It actually accelerated what was already a shift on the progressive left, which was already gravitating towards progressivism, away from a conventional economic message around economic inequality, and towards a much more social philosophy around racial reckoning and racial rapprochement, insofar as it can be engineered from the top down with a lot of redistribution and punishment, collective punishment along the way. What I thought about at the time was that it was an iconoclastic movement in the worst possible way, that it tore down, that it declined to build up. What it manifested, and what I focus on in the book, because trying to keep it as without the existential menaces of a lot of this stuff, and try to focus on the degree to which this is a self-defeating movement because it is hilarious, is the degree to which you can see racism now. If you're a devoted follower of this philosophy, you can see racism now in some of the most banal, mundane activities. And this is, again, a demonstration. The projection of inward insecurities onto these externalities demonstrates that you are of a particularly enlightened mindset. So you can see racism in baseball card trading. You can see how men sewing are advancing social justice initiatives, how decorative cotton fronds perpetuate systemic racism, why knitting is a racially hostile and appropriative activity. And that's the sort of thing that sounds crazy to somebody who's not initiated. But it also demonstrates, A, your virtue, if you're supporting this sort of thing, and B, your cleverness, that you can discern with your keen senses of propriety racial contretemps where the otherwise people who are just going about their lives would miss them. One of the most puritanical elements of this particular weirdness is their hostility towards holidays. Not just because, holidays are a frivolity, but in the most puritanical sense, and I mean the Cotton Mather sense, literally taking words out of his mouth, saying that these holidays allow you the space to behave intemperately. You drink too much, you eat too much, you consume too much, you divert your attention from, for the modern Puritans, the Great Progressive Project, advancing the Progressive Project and bettering everyone's lives as a result. In the puritanical sense, you take your attention away from God. They are all the same thing. So we have attacks on Halloween for its culturally appropriative costumes, and Christmas, or the winter holidays, because they're vestigial aspects of our culture that encourage frivolity, enlightenment, and distraction. And Thanksgiving, of course, which is an American holiday that celebrates A, the Constitution, and B, consumerism. And there's just nothing to think about. There's nothing to satisfy yourself with that sort of a holiday. So you have people thinking that are talking about how it should be a national day of mourning, how we should sit and atone for our sins on this day. I can't think of a more direct metaphor for puritanical thought in modern life. And this is coming from the formerly permissive left.